We wanted to put together some information to try to kind of give an overview of how property tax and sales tax work together, and to give you an idea of where we stand with our existing sister cities and how we rank amongst those. And so that's what this presentation is about. First of all, why do we care about property valuation? Well, it's the key component of the property tax equation, which is the valuation, which is assessed by the appraisal district, times the tax rate, which is set by the city council, and that equals our tax levy, which is what we budget for property tax revenue on an annual basis. At the most, excuse me, because the valuation is determined independently, governing boards can decide the valuation or the tax rate, but not both. Okay? So our city's current property tax rate is 0.776 per $100 of assessed valuation. 0.6774 of that goes to maintenance and operations, and 0.0986 of that goes to interest and sinking fund, which is our debt service fund for the general debt service. Excuse me, our combined local rate is 2.5085 per $100 of assessed valuation. Of that, 0.776 obviously is the city of San Angelo. The county accounts for 0.5125 of that, and the school district is 1.22 of that amount. So you can see here that the combined local property tax rate, San Angelo the city accounts for 31%, while other entities account for 69% of our citizens' tax rate burden. This is the historical property tax rate for San Angelo. You can see there, I don't know if this is a pointer, but starting in 2005, we began slowly to decrease the tax rate on an annual basis. We flattened out there in about 2014, and we have neither increased the tax rate or changed it since that time. This is our general fund revenues by source. You can see there that the property tax accounts for 40% of our general fund revenue, while sales tax accounts for about 25% of that revenue. And then our expenditures by department. Our property tax was initially adopted into the charter, and the purpose of the property tax was to fund public safety. Well, you can see from 46% of our revenue being from property tax and 51% of our expenditures going toward police and fire, that property tax revenue that we do generate is not even enough to cover the cost of those services. And the next slide just shows our expenditures by category. 72% of our general fund expenditures go to personnel, and again, the majority of that goes to police and fire, police officers and fire personnel. This slide depicts our assessed valuation per capita. So you can see there in comparison with some of our sister cities, on average, the assessed value per capita for San Angelo is lower than most of them. I think Wichita Falls might be a little bit lower than San Angelo, but this just shows that per your average citizen, our assessed value is much lower than some of our sister cities. And so our property tax rate, again, going back to that equation, combined with our assessed value is where we produce our property tax revenue. And so for San Angelo, it has to be a little bit higher in order to generate the same amount of revenue that other cities are able to generate because their assessed values are so much higher. They have a much broader tax base. This is just a comparison of our property tax rate, again, with our sister Texas cities. Just same discussion that we had before. It's a little higher, but again, that's because of our smaller tax base. And so in order to generate the same amount of revenue and provide those services, we do need to have a bit of a higher tax rate. And you'll see more about that, again, like I said, when we discuss in further detail in correlation with the sales tax revenue. This is the amount of property tax revenue by city. So Midland is up there, of course. We're right in line with Odessa and Wichita Falls. I do want to point out that all of these numbers do come from audited financial statements from 2016. I did want to make sure that we had accurate and up-to-date numbers, so that was the most recent year that had been audited, so I want to point that out. That's where these numbers are coming from in this presentation. So this is our tax levy per capita. So this is the amount of tax each individual citizen would pay based on the amount of tax revenue that we receive for the city of San Angelo. It's $352 for San Angelo in comparison with the other cities, but ranging from $281 to $329. Another thing that we take into consideration when we're talking about the tax levy and tax levy comparisons are property tax exemptions, excuse me. So San Angelo's exemption is up to 20% of a home's value, or at least $5,000. Abilene's is 15% or $5,000. Wichita Falls is a flat $25,000. Odessa is 20% or $5,000. And in Midland, it depends on the value of your property and the location. And so San Angelo's homestead exemption of 20% also gives our citizens, you know, some relief when it comes to their property tax bill as well. So to start on sales tax, our city rate is 0.015. Of that, 1 cent goes to the city and a half cent goes to the Economic Development Corporation. Our combined local rate is 8 1/4. So again, 1.5 cents going to the city of San Angelo and the Development Corporation. A half cent goes to the county, and of course 6 1/4 goes to the state of Texas. This is our sales tax revenue by city, again, for fiscal year 16 audited financial statements. You can see how San Angelo is lagging quite a ways behind any of our sister cities when it comes to sales tax, and that in conjunction with the property tax is what we wanted to talk about today. Our sales tax revenue per capita is $1.70, again, lagging quite a bit behind our sister cities when it comes to sales tax revenue. And then this is depicting our combined property and sales tax per capita. And you can see that we're kind of close for fiscal year 16 with Odessa and Wichita Falls, but we're still, even with the combined property tax and sales tax per capita, we still lag behind all of our sister cities when it comes to generating revenue for those two revenue streams. San Angelo was at $523 total per capita, Abilene at $570, Wichita Falls at $530, Odessa at $535, and Midland at $592 per capita. And so, again, we just wanted to kind of give an overview of how the property tax and sales tax work together, and to show that, you know, while we are being very conservative, you know, we still have to find other ways to generate that revenue to provide those services that our citizens have come to expect. And so with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, to expand on any of that, provide more information if you have any questions on that.
Do you have what other cities in total have? Ours is 72%. Let me go back to that slide. For personnel, what do other cities, what percent? Because the big picture, of course, is the following conversation. We keep trying to do salary and pay relative to those cities, but if you take a look at them, we're not close to those cities. So you look at it and you go, okay, so 72% of our funds go towards personnel. What do those other cities' percent of personnel equal?
You know, that's not something that I've actually looked at in detail. I don't want to put Lisa on the spot, but she wouldn't know either. Okay. I could get that information for you, but...
So I mean, my big point is the fine. We can't use Midland, Odessa, Wichita Falls, and Abilene as comparison cities because we don't rank close to them in almost every category, particularly property tax. And so we just need to be cognizant of, it's nice to talk about Midland, Odessa relative to where we should be, but we're not close to where they are. I mean, they have double the amount of sales tax revenue we have. Double.
And Mayor, no, that's a good point. So you look at double the amount of sales tax revenues that they have, because they do have those additional numbers that come in. I mean, they really can afford to have a lower tax rate, property tax rate. So you start looking at that, and you see the challenges that the city of San Angelo has in combining those two, which are our top two revenue generators. We have to be more efficient with our monies, basically, what it comes down to. Mm-hmm.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
However, the reality is we do compete with those cities for employees.
just wanted to, I did ask Tina to put this together. I just want to make sure that we're clear. As far as when we start talking about property taxes, sales tax revenues, I wanted to make sure that, and I'll be doing the same presentation on Thursday evening, but to another group that had asked for this. But on our part, we just want to make sure that we go into, especially our general fund, when we start discussing that item at the next budget workshop with our eyes wide open and looking at exactly what those challenges are and then addressing them accordingly. But again, I think this is a good presentation by Tina, good numbers you put together, so I appreciate you doing that.
I would like to say that, sales tax is something that we have limited control over how much revenue we bring in. And so property tax is one of our biggest tools. It has to be, unfortunately. And if we did have the same sales tax per capita on the slide, as some of our sister cities, we would be generating a lot more revenue in that regard and be able to lower our property tax rate. And so that's why I know you've talked about it a lot, Mayor, about we need more industry, we need more commercial base, and that's very true. If we did have that additional source of income, we'd be able to lower, from the math that I've done, we could lower our tax rate anywhere from 9 to 18 cents. And so, it's very important to keep up on that and to try to bring in those new industries and new revenue streams.
Thank you. It's a very important point.